In today's video, I want to share with you guys my overall thoughts of using this camera after 5 months, and also what to expect if you're moving from something like a DSLR towards this affordable cinema camera. So without further ado, let's get into the video. Hey guys, Zeek here, hope you're doing well. It's actually starting to rain, so if you can hear that, my apologies. Let's get on with the video.
I'm singing in the rain.
Now I want to mention that buying the most expensive camera or the latest camera isn't going to make you a better filmmaker. We all know that. You know, cameras have just been popping out of nowhere. They keep coming out every month. There's like a new camera. And so I just want to say that the Pocket 6K is not getting old. There's no such thing as a camera getting old. The main thing is that you get the camera that suits your needs, and whatever's going to get the job done for you, absolutely go for that camera. Now, by the way, the video B-roll in this video is all shot on the Canon M50 in 4K. The Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 6K was released back in 2019 and was an instant hit with a similar Super 35 sensor that you get from the more expensive Ursa Mini line, but in a smaller form factor. Now, I've owned the Pocket 4K and the Ursa Mini 4.6K original, and I have to say that I prefer the Pocket 6K after 5 months of use. Now, I don't post a lot of the work that I do with this camera on YouTube, but I have to say that every time I use this camera, especially when shooting B-roll, I'm absolutely impressed with the footage that you can get at such a low price. I mean, people have been using this camera alongside more expensive cameras out there like the Red or even the Arri Alexa, which is fantastic. It's getting lots of exposure out there, and it really, at the end of the day, does the job. You have the beautiful Blackmagic color science that can almost equal the more expensive cameras out there. You got great latitude, about 13.7 stops, and a range of recording options to meet the client's needs. Looking at the ergonomics, I have to say it does feel a bit awkward in the hand. I mean, I can see what Blackmagic is trying to do. They're trying to make people who are from DSLR backgrounds or mirrorless cameras feel more comfortable when moving up to something like a cinema camera. And I definitely have to say that it does feel approachable. It does feel user-friendly. You got a big, nice grip like something you get from the EOS R. And then at the top, you have all these nice buttons laid out for you, like your ISO, your shutter angle or your shutter speed, and your white balance. The main stuff that you need are really accessible for you. On the side here, you have a whole heap of important ports. You got a full HDMI. I think mirrorless cameras these days are fashionable with micro HDMI, which I absolutely hate. Then you also have a mini XLR port, so you can power up your phantom powered microphones and get some really professional audio if you're shooting documentary or other run and gun style shooting. So when you do get this camera, you need to know that you just can't use it straight out of the box. There's a few things you need, like the SSD and a battery supply, in order to get this camera up and running. So for me, I'm using a small rig cage. I did go with a half cage at first, but I found that I need the extra side here, so I can mount this hand strap right here. This is a small rig hand strap, and if you haven't got one of these, please do consider getting this, because if you're going to hold the camera like this for run and gun, your fingers could get sweaty, especially in high temperature scenarios, and if it slips off your hand, you could break the camera, and as for the lens, you could damage the glass or just destroy the motor. So having something like a hand strap like this, I just personally think the camera feels really reliable in my hand. As for storage, you can get these little SSD caddies. I'm using a 1TB Samsung T5 SSD for all my B-roll files. And then for ProRes, you don't really need the fastest speeds, but I'm using a Alexa 1066x 128GB SD card. Now, if you want the best battery life out of this camera, then V-mount is your best choice. Otherwise, I personally like to use power banks, especially if I'm just taking this camera out for fun, wildlife shoots or short documentaries or just practice short films. Then a power bank is what I use. It's the COMSOL 10,000 milliamp. It supports 12 volt and higher, and it lasts for more than 2 to 3 hours. So if you power off the camera each time after a shoot, then you get some really good battery life with just this tiny little portable power bank. Alright, so let's talk about the footage. Now, what I love about the Pocket 6K and the other Blackmagic cameras is the ability to shoot high resolution 12-bit B-roll internally without the need of an external monitor or recorder. The footage that comes out of these cameras is really exceptional for the price that you pay. The skin tones come across beautiful, and every time I go to edit these files, I just find that minimal editing has to be done. You know, you get a really nice look straight out of the bat if you're using a log to Rec 79 converter. The dynamic range and latitude of this camera are fantastic. You get 13.7 stops, or at least that's what it's rated at, and thanks to that you get some really good highlight details as well as your shadows. Now the Pocket 6K does have an EF mount, and there's a whole range of different lenses that you can choose from. For me personally, I like to stick with my Sigma Art 18-35 f1.8 lens. It really is a one and done lens, especially if you don't need the long end. It shoots crisp footage with great detail, and the fast aperture allows for a shallow depth of field. Now we all know the Pocket 6K has no IBIS or form of stabilization, and so what you got to do is maybe use a neck strap, stretch it out like this, or just keep the camera nice and close to your body. If you're using 35mm lenses or 50mm, you're going to find that the footage is going to be shaky, especially because the camera weighs 690 grams. So if you don't have enough weight, then you're going to find that your footage is going to look shaky and jerky. So if you're looking for lenses with stabilization, then you have options like the Tamron or the Sigma 17-50 f2.8. But if you're looking for that Canon L quality for a cheap price, then the 24-70 f4L would really do a great job. The colors are unbelievably natural, the highlight roll-off is pleasing, and it flares nicely with sun stars, which make it look like an expensive lens. So overall, I really do like the 24-70 f4. Even in low light, it does well thanks to the dual ISO capability of the Pocket 6K. You can bump it up to 3200, and you can still get nice clean results even at f4. So after 5 months, what can I say about the Pocket 6K? Well, there is a Pocket 6K Pro, which you can vouch for, I think an extra 500 or so bucks. Then you have a super bright screen of like 1500 nits. You got a tiltable screen, and then you got a built-in ND filter. I chose to stick with my Pocket 6K because it is more than enough. You know, you got 12-bit RAW internally, you got ProRes so you can shoot a whole heap of YouTube stuff. You got ProRes Lights, 422 HQ. You can do green screen on this thing, you can do YouTube, you can do a whole heap of stuff, documentary filmmaking, short films, indie films. You can shoot TV programs, commercials. So this camera really does a lot. If you're looking for something with IBIS, something with good autofocus, this is not your camera. If you're looking to up your game from your current DSLR with 8-bit codec, then the Blackmagic Pocket cameras are going to really fit that gap. The Super 35 sensor along with B-RAW produces footage that I haven't been able to see in cameras that I've used around the same price bracket. So that's it from me. If you guys enjoyed the video, then please give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye for now.